following announcement has been paid for by the new Howl Order.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs, or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here. The Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, I was listening to an interesting conversation on YouTube. I want to believe it was Dan Orlovsky, and I think he was talking to Dan Patrick or someone of that ilk. I can't remember what I ran into. Sometimes I watch random things on YouTube. Anyway, he was talking about the lack of success of shorter quarterbacks that have come into the league as high draft picks over the last, 7 years or so. Baker Mayfield was a guy he pointed out, the up and down nature of his career. He's on an upswing right now in Tampa, and that's good for him. He's won a playoff game, made it to the playoffs about 3-4 years ago with the Browns, but we know his career has been a roller coaster of sorts. Kyler Murray, we know about his story. Hasn't won a playoff game, only been to one playoff game thus far in his career. He's kind of had an up and down trajectory in his career as well, just coming off the knee injury. There was questions about his study habits and his dedication, this, that, and the third. But all in all, he's a good quarterback, but is he a Super Bowl caliber quarterback? We don't know yet, right? Then, there's Tua, who's not the biggest guy in the world. We've seen the injury concerns with him. We had those going into him being drafted. He came into the league coming off of hip surgery. One of the knocks on him at college was that he was always banged up. He's had concussions. They've done a much better job of protecting him, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. Mike McDaniel has really done wonders with Tua and his career, to be honest with you. His career kind of felt like it was teetering there for a second. But still don't know about Tua yet. Book still, the jury's still out on Tua, right? He's not a guy that is all that big either. So these are conversations that we've had. I'm trying to think, is there any other? Bryce Young, right? Bryce Young, the struggles are well documented this year. Panthers fans are not pleased with what they've seen. They think he's too small. His arm isn't, big enough, etc., etc. This is essentially the conversation that we've had around Bryce Young. Is he big enough? We made a lot out of, I think there was another quarterback's height, hand size, all that stuff. I don't recall who it was. It might have been Baker Mayfield. I just feel like that was so long ago. Felt like it was somebody else more recently. It might have been Kenny Pickett. I don't remember. Kenny's not the smallest guy in the world. He's not the biggest guy either. We know he's got smaller hands, paws. But that's no here nor there. The bottom line is, Dan Orlovsky was saying, he brought all of those quarterbacks up to then reference Caleb Williams. He's like, Caleb Williams, not the biggest guy in the world, and no one's really talking about it, but he's listed at 6'1", 220. And we all know that your size tends to be fabricated by your university that you play for. Whatever's on the program, usually you can knock off an inch and probably, 7 to 10 pounds as well, right? So 6'1", 220 might actually be 6 feet 214, right? Or it might be 6 feet 224, depending on where the weight goes, what direction it heads. But he's essentially alluding to the fact that he's not the biggest guy in the world. We've seen a lot of these guys struggle. And he said another thing to keep in mind with these young quarterbacks coming into the NFL is that the ones that have succeeded are the ones that have learned to play from the pocket in college, right? And a lot of what we saw from Bryce Young was off-schedule stuff. He could play from the pocket, and he did well at Alabama in that regard. But a lot of why, you fall in love with a guy like Bryce Young is because of what he was able to do outside of the pocket. and off schedule. And that wasn't CJ Stroud's forte, right? Remember, that was one of the knocks on him is, hey, he doesn't move out of the pocket well. He doesn't extend plays, et cetera, et cetera. And he has to be in a structured offense. He has to be protected. And then you see him get to the NFL. You've seen him be able to move about. You've seen him be comfortable in that regard. And you've seen him perform at a level that exceeds all the other young quarterbacks, right? And when you look at a lot of the young quarterbacks that come into the NFL, a lot of them are able to play off schedule, but they aren't great in the pocket. And Caleb Williams falls into that category. I think he does a lot of his best work. A lot of his damage is done from outside of the pocket when things break down. And Orlovsky talked about, him being the closest thing we've seen to like a Patrick Mahomes style quarterback in college. But can he perform at a high level from the pocket? Can he stand in there, take the pressure, withstand a few hits, stare down the gun barrel, and deliver the football? And also not being the biggest guy sometimes affects you in that regard. Also, the lack of maturity. I've talked about that already. There's some of that going on with Caleb Williams that he may have to dispel. Whatever the case may be. Just thought I'd bring that up. That's an interesting tidbit. And being that we have a smaller quarterback right now in Sam Howell, is that something that you would be okay with dealing with moving forward? Or do you want the bigger quarterback? Do you want the 6'4" guy? There are two of them in particular in this particular draft coming out, in Drake May and Jaden Daniels, that are roughly 6'3", 6'4", somewhere in that neighborhood. And so the question I have for you is, who's your favorite quarterback prospect? And that includes Caleb Williams. Who's your favorite quarterback prospect in this draft class? What are your preferences? What are you looking for in the next quarterback of this team if that guy is not Sam Howell? I think what we see down the final three games in the stretch of this season will go a long way in determining what Washington will ultimately do at the quarterback position in the draft. And again, if Sam plays well down the stretch, he could push Washington further back in the draft order, which will then make it a bit tougher. If they really truly want one of these quarterbacks, they'll have the ammunition. They got 2 second-round picks. They have a first-round pick this year. If need be, you got a first-round pick next year. I think they're going to trade Jonathan Allen in the offseason and acquire another second-round pick. You have 3 second-rounders at your disposal, plus your first-rounder. If you really want to get something done, you'll be able to get something done if you want to move up to, say, get one of these quarterbacks. But we'll see. They may not have to do any of that if Washington continues to play the way that they've been playing during this 5-game losing streak. They can just go right ahead and continue doing what they've been doing, finish the season on an 8-game losing streak, finish the season at 4-13, and end up with the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th pick in the draft. So they'll be in a position to get a quarterback. The bottom line is, what is your preference? You know what would be really interesting, if not awkward, is if Washington drafted quarterback Drake May, right? Sam Howell and Drake May are best friends. Sam Howell and Drake May both went to North Carolina. Sam preceded Drake, and now you would bring him here, and they're essentially fighting for one spot. And this isn't college where the other guy knows eventually I'm going to get my shot because you're going to go to the NFL. We're battling for one spot here, and if they draft Drake May with the first-round pick, Sam's opportunity to be the quarterback here is over, essentially. That would be a weird dynamic, I believe, but I guess that's nor here nor there. At the end of the day, what is your preference? Because I've always been a guy that likes taller, bigger stature quarterbacks, but that doesn't really resonate with me as much anymore because we've seen so many shorter quarterbacks come into the league. But there's something to be said about a Justin Herbert or a Josh Allen And none of these guys look like that, by the way. Like, Drake May is a twig. He's strict. I feel the same way about Jaden Daniels. Like, these guys are skinny. Like, they don't have any thickness to their frame. Pause. They don't have. They're like, Sam Howell is built much more stockier and thicker than Drake May or Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams is kind of built in the same mold of a Sam Howell in terms of his stockiness. He's got a thicker frame, which leads you to believe he can withstand a little bit more damage and hits and things of that nature. The skinny guys always worry me, and a lot of these guys look to be very, very skinny, and I mean, look, I'm not looking for my quarterback to be taking on, edge rushers and linebackers and safeties, but that's the nature of the beast in the NFL. You leave the pocket and you become a runner, all bets are off. Sam has proven that he's as tough as they come. And while a lot of you don't think that matters, toughness is a big effing deal in this league. We had Robert Griffin III, who has a frame similar to that of Drake May, where it's like sort of a track frame, where it's not a lot of muscle and, mass on that frame. It's up and down. It's straight up and down. And he couldn't stay healthy. Anytime he got hit, it was like he was brittle and he was very breakable. You need quarterbacks that can withstand the punishment of the NFL. This is a physical sport. It is physically demanding. The more that they try to protect quarterbacks, the more that these quarterbacks seem to be at risk, especially when they leave the pocket. You can slide and still get your block knocked off. You can try to run for out of bounds and still get tattooed. We've seen it. It happened to Sam multiple times this year, right? So what are you looking for in a quarterback, and which one of these quarterbacks best represents the quarterback that you're looking for this team for the long haul moving forward? Does any of them represent what you're looking for, or are you just good with Sam and you'll pass on all of these dudes and you'll just look to build the team and hope that Sam gets an opportunity again next year? Leave it down in the comment section. I'm curious as to what you're looking for, which one of these guys satisfies. Understand that Jaden Daniels may be there because it may end up being Caleb Williams, Drake May, 1 and 2, like it's been for the most part the entire college football season. Jaden Daniels could ascend. He has won the Heisman Trophy. There is a lot of buzz surrounding his name right now. He could push, Drake May out of the 2-hole and end up being the second pick overall. And then Drake May is available. How do you feel about that? Caleb Williams, to me, is going number 1 regardless. I just don't see that changing. So let me know down in the comment section. We haven't talked a lot about Michael Penix Jr. We haven't talked a lot about Bo Nix or the McCarthy kid from Michigan, Quinn Ewers from Texas. We haven't talked about a lot of these other quarterbacks. Does any of those quarterbacks tickle your fancy? Leave it down in the comment section. As we go to in other news, nothing really here to see. We just go over the injury report real quick. I don't think there are going to be any surprises on either team's side when it gets to the injury reports. But at the time of this video, when it was shot, none of the official injury reports and updates for the game were in, but we can speculate. So let's just go ahead and do that right now. So my guess is there'll be no Tyler Larson or Charles Leno Jr. Larson is the one that scares me half to death, but he doesn't finish seasons. We've known that already. It's not as serious as the past couple of years where he's broken ankle or torn ACL or whatever. But yeah, I don't think he's going to play in this game. So our offensive line is going to look vastly different this week. And again, not the week you would want a lot of shuffling along the offensive front. Brian Robinson Jr. not going to play this week. I told you I think he'll have an outside shot to play next week against San Francisco. Jonathan Williams going to be out with that concussion, and Joshua Pryor may be back with that illness. It just depends on how severe it is and how long he's had it and how quickly it goes away. As far as the rest of the guys, I expect them to all be active on Sunday. John Ridgeway, James Smith-Williams back from that hamstring after missing about 4 games or so. Cody Barton and Emmanuel Forbes, expect them to be ready to go on Sunday as well. As you get to the Jets side of things, really it's just John Franklin Myers and Zach Wilson that are in jeopardy of missing this game. I think both of them will miss this game. And obviously Rodgers isn't playing this season, so really don't need to include him in this discussion. I think every other player for the Jets is going to be suited and booted, ready to go on Sunday, and they'll have most of their players at their disposal as we take on the Jets on Sunday. So we move on to the game plan for this Sunday contest versus the Jets. And to me, it's pretty simple, man. Like, I don't really want to, belabor any points that I've made all week long. We kind of know who this team is. We've watched them now for 14 games this season. We've seen the ups, we've seen the downs, we see their strengths, we see their weaknesses. They don't have many strengths as we head into week 16, but they've got plenty of weaknesses that the Jets can exploit to make it 6 straight losses for this Commanders football team. I know a lot of you think that's what's going to happen. I've been adamant that I think Washington is going to win this game. I don't know why, because every time I talk about this matchup, the more and more I talk about it, the more and more I'm like, how in the hell are we supposed to win this game? Like, the things we don't do well, the Jets seem to do very well. Like, offensively, we don't protect the quarterback. They get after the quarterback very well. Their defense is top notch. Our offense is one of the worst in football right now. And defensively, we can't stop anybody. Their offense stinks. It's one of the worst, if not the worst offense in football, but we can't stop anybody. So what's going to stop the Jets from getting off like other quarterbacks who were struggling coming into the game against us were able to get off? And so everything that I'm talking about, as I continue to talk all week long, I'm like, everything I'm saying is contrary to what I believe, but this is what I believe. I don't know why I feel this way. I just think we're going to win this game, and I think Zach Wilson's injury gives me the confidence that Washington somehow is going to pull this game off. Look, if they lose this game, I'll be just as ecstatic as the next man. I'm not pulling for them to win this game because I want Sam Howell to be the quarterback here next year. I want Sam to get that opportunity on his own merit. But I want the next GM that comes in here to have the highest draft pick possible. And how that is achieved is by this team continuing to lose football games. I just want Sam to play well in that process. Again, I'm all about Sam and his development and him putting his best foot forward. Doesn't necessarily have to result in a win, right? But at some point, people judge you on wins and losses. You can play really well. He's done that this season plenty of times where he's played well and we still lost the game. And people are still going to blame him, even though he had nothing to do with the outcome really, other than giving his team the best chance on offense. And they just didn't get it done because the defense didn't do enough. Whether that's the case or not, we'll see. He's been playing very poorly here of late. And so he got benched on Sunday in the loss to the Rams. We'll see if he learned anything. I like what he said this week. What this game pretty much comes down to for me is 2 things. Really, one in particular, but the other is going to be significant because it's going to also, I think, alter the outcome of this game. The biggest thing, though, is the Jets' defense against Washington's offense. They have the ability to dominate this game, force turnovers, and win this game off the strength of their defense. If their defense creates turnovers, they get to Sam Howell, they sack him, they fluster him, they have him, running for his life and not trusting the pocket very early in the game, it could get ugly quick, and it could be like the last time we were in the Meadowlands. And this team could be punting 3 and out, and this team could, be absolutely awful. It could be a punt fest, and you might get a turnover or 2, and that could be the difference in the game. So if their defense plays up to par, that could be the difference in the game. They dominate our offense, create a turnover or 2. That could be the difference in the game. A short field or 2. Special teams may be huge for both teams, especially the field goal kicking department. But even punting, you may have to flip the field once or twice because you're pinned deep, that sort of thing. Anyway, that's the first thing. And then the other thing is, can our lackluster defense hold down the worst offense in football? That's what it boils down to, right? Don't let Trevor Siemian or whomever, Brett Rippon or whoever the hell is playing quarterback for the Jets this week, just don't let them get off. And Garrett Wilson looks like DJ Moore, looks like Cooper Kupp, looks like A.J. Brown, looks like Stephon Diggs. All the number 1 receivers, CeeDee Lamb, that have dug in our ass, this season, he looks like those guys. So if everything holds up the way that it's been going this year, he'll have 127 yards and a touchdown in this game. We'll see what happens. But that leads me to my final outcome. I'm not going to talk you to death. It's Jets and Commanders. It's 5-9 at home against 4-10. This doesn't need to be drawn out, right? bottom line is, I think we're going to win this game. I think Washington's going to make enough plays. And honestly, what this game's going to boil down to is what team makes the least amount of mistakes. I think Washington, somehow, some way, is going to make less mistakes than the Jets are in this game. Don't ask me why. We've played much better. If this were a home game, we'd lose this thing by 50. But we're on the road. We've played better on the road this season for whatever reason. I can't quite put my finger on it. And I think we're going to have a chance to win this game. I think the defense created turnovers last week. That may continue this week because you know how it goes with this team. They get turnovers and they create them in bunches, it seems like. So you got 2 last week. What's stopping them from getting another 2 or 3 this week and prevailing and coming out on top 20-17, which is what I see happening. Joey Sly's going to have to make his kicks. We're going to have a new long snapper. Hopefully that guy does his job adequately. He can't do it any worse than Joey Sly or rather Cameron Cheeseman was doing it. So the anticipation is, Sly will have a clean slate here, kick the football through the uprights. We're going to need every single point we can get. And I think Washington wins this game. It's going to be ugly, but I think they find a way to get it done. They might not even make it to 20. Right? 20 might be a little bit aggressive on my part. This might be more like a 17-13, 13-10 type of game. But I don't know why. I just see us getting to 20. 20-17 is your final score. Washington gets it done. What says you? Leave it down in the comment section. Does Washington lose their 6th straight game and potentially see themselves go all the way up to number 3 or 2 in the Tankathon? Or does Washington win this game, find themselves somewhere in that 7, 8, 9 range? Again, leave it down in the comment section. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next week. Real quick, I'll be on Bleacher Report day after Christmas, so December 26th at 3 p.m., ranking the top 10 NFL head coaches. If you don't have anything to do and you're just chilling, check the kid out. I really appreciate that. And I'll have some more updates on the channel to remind you about that. But again, season's greetings. Merry Christmas. You'll see me the day before Christmas because we'll be talking about this Jets game. So you'll see me again before then. But if not, Merry Christmas to you and yours. Happy holidays. Enjoy the festivities and see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's